What is going on, people of YouTube? My name is Kurtyoy and welcome back to a brand new video. Now back again with the transfer targets videos. We've done the Champions Chelsea, we've done the new contract signing Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, that's even a way of saying it, and now we're taking a break from the Premier League briefly to go down to the Championship to do my beloved Sheffield Wednesday. Now I want you to bear in mind this is just an opinion and these are my thoughts. I thought I'd share them, but you know, don't take it to heart if I've signed up or tried to sign a player and you don't think they're too good, or I think they're well out of our league, whatever. This is just me thinking what we could do in the summer transfer market, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. And let's start off with two of the players that I don't think we'll be keeping on loan, and those two players are Buckley and McManaman. Now, technically Rhodes is on loan, but he's signing permanently once the window opens, so that shouldn't be too much bother. Buckley and McManaman are on loan, and to be honest, although they had glimmers of sort of good play, they don't deserve a permanent move, and we don't really need to make a permanent move to them. We are crying out for wingers, but there are a lot better ones out there. I'll get onto them in a bit, but Buckley and McManaman, I think they should just return back to their parent clubs. And now we've got some free transfers to delve into. We're going to start off with three rather odd ones, I'd say. They've been out on loan and I think they will end up leaving. That is Daryl Lackman, Dielna and Sugu. The free transfers list have already been released. I'm pretty sure all these six I'm mentioning and the three, the three now, three later, aren't going to be staying, but these three haven't been good enough. Loaned out for a good reason. We need better quality, so they are going. And that's the same in many ways for the next three I'm going to mention, which is Vincent Sasso, Urbi Emanuelson and Jose Semedo. Emanuelson has played one game, and that was a substitute appearance for the final game of the season, which says just about everything we need to know about what sort of impact he's had at Sheffield Wednesday. Sasso is a really interesting one. Although we are crying out for centre-backs and he hasn't been too bad, he's the sort of player that we need to get rid of to move up and sign those better players. And we get rid of his wage, we could sign someone else on a free that's a lot better, and I've got a few coming up that I do think are a real good choice. And we've also got Jose Semedo. It's a really tough one to take, that one, but I feel like he is going to leave. He's been a fantastic servant to the club, and it's one of those players that you can't help but love if you're a fan, because when he step foots on the pitch, from the first foot he puts onto the pitch, the very last one, and until final whistle goes maybe, he's going to try his absolute hardest for the team, for the club, for the fans, for everyone. And yeah, it's sad to see him go, but again, we do need to move up that quality ladder, and it means unfortunately letting people like Semedo go. Next up, we've got four transfers I potentially could see us or would want us to get rid of. We're going to start off with Felipe Melo. Now, the lesser spotted Felipe Melo, you wouldn't have even thought he was still at the club. A bit like McGugan. McGugan's apparently still at the club. Who would have known? But Felipe Melo, he's still technically contracted for another year. I'd like to see him, go, get his wages to someone else. That's wages throughout a year that we could put on a transfer fee or could put on someone else. He's not playing. He's taking up money. So, yeah, I'd get rid of him. Potentially even for a free if it needs to be, just to get him off the wage books to maybe bring someone else in. Next up, we've got Alman Abdi. A really, really odd one, Alman Abdi. But I'm putting him in here just simply because he's not really been given the chance. He hasn't really had the playing time this season. And he was an expensive buy. And he's probably an expensive player. Now, if he isn't going to be part of our first team plans, we need to realise that, is he going to become bench fodder? Where he plays like 7 or 8 games this season off the bench, maybe has an impact in 2 or 3 of them. But we need to, if he's not going to play, we need to cut our losses, get rid of him and bring someone else in that Carlos likes and will play. But I would keep him. But this is on the basis if Carlos Carvajal is not going to play him, we need to get rid of him. I believe that's the right choice. Next up, we've got Danny Pudil. Interesting one again, but I feel like with Morgan Fox, we've got someone to rival him. We could sign a better left back himself, but to me, he is, as shown in the playoff final, or playoff semi-final I should say, pace, and it ripped him to shreds that entire game when they brought on their pacing. It was ridiculous. So I feel like Pudil, probably time to go for him. And Marco Matthias, I think he sold himself on the final day of the season with that reckless challenge. He could have been a really good player for the playoffs. We're looking at a goal, we need 10 minutes left. Come on, he's got that trickery, that pace, that skill. Really could have been good, but I think he's written his last few sentences here at the club, and I think he'll be on his way. Now for our next little bit on the outgoings, we've got two players, because you may know if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan or you know the Sheffield Wednesday squad, we've got a lot of strikers. In fact, with João coming back to the club, we have, I believe, 7, which is Nuhiu, João, Winnall, Rhodes, Fletcher, Hooper and Forestieri. Now, Forestieri's been linked away. I think Hooper will probably attract a few clubs because he's been in good form this season, but we need to be realistic. I think João, if we're not going to sell anyone, which I don't want us to sell anyone, and I hope we can keep on to all our strikers, João probably needs to get pushed out on another loan. It's hard for me to say, but we've got too many strikers, so I think I'd loan João out. And as for another striker leaving, it leaves me with my favourite player, Ati Nuhiu. I think it needs to be mentioned to him, he's probably not going to be first team. If anything, he'll be off the bench, or a few suspensions or injuries come our way, he'll be playing then. But I think we need to leave it up to him. If he wants to leave, find a first team spot somewhere else, go for it. If he wants to stay and probably help us get up to the Premier League, then that would help. But it's fair to see that he is favoured by Carlos Carvalho, was last season, for the bench position, and he could provide an impact, but I'd say leave it up to him. That's why it's a weird sort of question mark for him. I spent a lot of time talking about outgoings. Let's talk about some incomings. We're going to start off with the centre-backs, and we've got 5, a monstrous 5 for you. We need centre-backs, and we need some desperately, because I do not think, and this is an interesting, little opinion I've got, I think Lee's is good. I think Leuven's potentially isn't going to be, the first team player come next season. I feel like he could be pushed out of the team. But the 5 I've picked out are Grant Hanley from Newcastle on a transfer, Damien Delaney on a free from Palace, Harley Dean on a transfer from Brentford. I've got Effie Ambrose on a transfer from Celtic, and I've got Matthew Pennington, hopefully on loan, from Everton. Starting off with Mr. Grant Hanley. I think it looks like he's a surplus to requirements. Rafa Benitez, he wasn't really in the team in the Championship. Newcastle got up to the Premier League. They could be looking to bolster up the defence, which means he'll get pushed out. And I think although he's been linked elsewhere, Derby is one of them he's linked with, if he could snoop in there and steal him, it'd be a fantastic signing. He's a good experienced defender, could really help us. And the next one is Damien Delaney, who is, I think he's got his contract running out of Palace. If he has, I'd say go in for him. Yes, he's old, he's not going to help us for the long run, but he's got a fair few promotions in his entire career, and I feel like for a good season or two, he'll give us experience, he'll give us that back line, that sturdiness. I think Delaney could be a really good signing. Harley Dean's probably a good young player to bring in for a long term. If we can get him off Brentford, that's nice. But Brentford seem to be doing alright in the league, pushing higher up towards those playoff places. So I don't think we could get him, but if we could go in there and get him, it might cost a lot, but I think it'd be worth it. Effie Ambrose is the next one. Many Celtic fans thinking it'll be his, he won't be at the club next season, so I think perfect time to get him, maybe with a cut cost deal. He's a good utility player, maybe not first team worthy, but I feel like he could do a really good job. And Matthew Pennington, fantastic young potential, good, good player to bring in, can play, sort of maybe even either side of the defence, including the centre. I think could really do a job for us. Now, I mentioned I'd get rid of Pudil, so I got 4 left backs on my little shortlist. I got Zeki Fires on a free from Palace, Massimo Haidara for a loan or transfer from Newcastle. We've got Danny Pinelos, I believe that's how you say his name, from a transfer from Forest, and Matthew Targett, loan maybe transfer from Southampton. Now Zeki Fries has got his contract running out. Allardyce said a few months ago, when he was in charge, he doesn't think he's ready for the Premier League, so that gives us great opportunity to come in, build him up, get him in the left back position. He's 24 I think at the moment, so I think he's got a good chance of making a good first team impression, and he can also play in centre back as well if need be, so a little bit of a utility there. Massimo Haidara, again Newcastle are going up. I don't see him being involved in the first team as a starter, could potentially just be a loan for a season with potential to buy at the end of the loan, or just a transfer in general. I think right, we'll try and ship him out to get a bit of money for another transfer. I think he's a good player and could do a really good job for us. He's young as well, could grow into the role. Another one who's young is actually Pinelos from Forest. I think Morgan Fox, if he's to join, Morgan Fox would be sort of a rivaling think he wouldn't be a straight choice. This is our best right back, almost like it is on the other side of Hunt and Palmer. But I feel like he could do a really decent job. He's a good young defender. Matthew Targett, if not just a loan, maybe a transfer pushing it. Good left back. Done a decent job for Southampton when asked of this last season. So I feel like he could be a good signing. Now I think our central midfield is pretty packed. We've got decent midfielders. If we can keep them fit, that's good. And if we keep Abdi, then I haven't really managed to pick out any other players that could replace him. So hopefully we keep Abdi and he gets into the first team a lot. But the three central midfielders I've picked out, first of all, Danny Williams on a free from Reading. I think he's a quality player. He showed in the playoffs. He's got massive quality, and I feel like he could be a fantastic player for any Championship club, if not pushing towards those Premier League clubs. But I feel like if we were to get him, massive coup for us. We've also got Yusuf Malumbu, sort of experienced defensive midfielder. We should play him in, would allow players like Bannon, like Abdi, to be more free roaming in the midfield, give us an opportunity to sort of get sturdiness and also more attacking play into our tactic. And also Charlie Adam, I believe he's still not got a new contract at Stoke, and with Darren Fletcher being announced the day of recording this on the 1st of June, I feel like Charlie Adam could be service to requirements, contract running out, and he did well at Blackpool. He's done decently in the Premier League. I feel like for the next few seasons at least he could be a good player to have on the books. And lastly, we've got wide players, and again, it's monstrous. I've gone really into detail of this. I've picked out 5 players, some, more sort of reaching than others. But first up, we've got Sam Clucas. I honestly think he's one of Hull's best players last season, and Hull are going down. It's going to be hard to attract him, considering Hull are going down to the Championship. We're also in the Championship. But if we can somehow convince him to come, massive signing. He's done well in the centre of the pitch when asked to, done well in wide areas, can move up top, maybe even more defensive if need be in a left back spot. I think he's a fantastic player, and he's really worth the money. If we were to spend big on one player, I'd say it's definitely got to be Sam Clucas. We've also got Tom Ince, who's rumoured to be on the transfer list, I believe, at Derby. Fantastic player, and I think he could really do a job for us. We've also got George Boyd. At the moment, I don't think he's signed a new contract at Burnley, which means he's leaving on a free come the end of this month. If we can sign him, I think he'd be a great player. He's proved it before. He's got bags of quality, and he could be a good signing. We've also got Craig Noone. I read this somewhere. I believe Neil Warnock has said both Pilkington and Noone can leave if they want to, and if we could pick up Craig Noone, he does a decent job for us. I feel like it would help us bulk up our wide areas to give us more options rather than just Wallace and Reach is what it is at the moment, basically discounting the loans and all